The information and views expressed by our host or guests on the Unlock Potential podcast are their own, and not a substitute for professional medical or fitness advice. Always consult with qualified healthcare or fitness professionals before starting any new exercise program or making changes to your current routine.
And it didn't feel painful. It didn't feel uncomfortable. So then I just kept going deeper and deeper and looking forward to having the hot flashes so I could explore them more.
Yeah.
And then I would get excited to meet them. And I found that I could be creative with it, Corey, and I could say things like, I know this is gonna sound funny, but wow, what a gift, what a reminder to stop what I'm doing in the day or at night, whatever, and take a deep breath and come back to the present moment.
Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Unlock Potential. I'm Brian Delaney. Our focus this season is fitness. I'll be joined by Dr. Corey Duvall, who's going to guide us through his protocol for getting into your best shape so we can live our best lives and serve others well.
Hello, and welcome back to Season 2 of Unlock Potential. I'm Dr. Corey Duvall, and in this season, I'm taking you through all of the mindsets and procedures of the Stay Active method, a protocol used to build you to your physically fittest self so that you're most helpful to others. In recent episodes, we've taken you through some exercise examples, and we've started talking about some of the hormonal shifts and imbalances that a lot of us can experience over time. Today, I've got co-host, longtime friend, client, and local real estate guru and mindset extraordinaire, Katie Rice is joining me today. She's going to help us kind of start to dig into the topic of female experience as she starts shifting into menopause. It's a problematic area for some women. Other women have a smoother process there. And a lot of what we do in the Stay Active method is help people understand their symptoms as a guide for how they can improve themselves, as opposed to just a barrier and a limitation that we have to suffer underneath. And so Katie's going to help kind of share the experience here, and I'll help kind of explain what a lot of people might experience and how we can use that to adjust ourselves over time. Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your activity history, and then maybe into how you started experiencing the changes as your body was aging over time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Corey. Delighted. What an intro. So, I'm 49 years old. And
you wouldn't tell.
And I would say, I don't know, in the last year, things started to feel a little different. They were just subtle. Things would pop up. Energy levels would randomly change that I couldn't correlate with sleep or diet or exercise and things like that. So sleep patterns started to get different. And then finally, I got the long-awaited hot flash that everyone talks about. And
was that during the day or at night?
That was, I don't know, I would say during the day. During the day. And then started some night sweats, and that came later. So my background is a very active person, very athletic person. I've been a gym rat off and on forever since I was a teenager. And for many years, in the last decade plus, I've been a competitive long distance endurance mountain bike racer.
Yeah.
And try to get in the woods a lot. So very active person, many hours a week, depending on where I've been at what phase in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you've been active your whole life. You feel like you've had pretty steady energy over that time, and more recently it started fluctuating, or did you have some fluctuating energy even throughout your life?
I've had fluctuating energy throughout my life. Like I said, different seasons, different things going on. raising kids, being an entrepreneur, things like that. Being a creative where oftentimes I'll be go to slight extremes, focus on a project and then rest and recover. Work and focus. So that energy will wax and wane a little bit. But this felt a little different. It felt sort of sporadic. And I noticed along with that, what was interesting, Corey, was my mood. I did have some mood shifts, like just kind of cranky and irritated. And I'm not really a very easily irritated person. Yeah. So that was going along with some of this energy. And I thought, oh, okay, maybe the pot's beginning to be stirred, so to speak. Yeah. And then when I got the first hot flash, I thought, is this what a hot flash is? Yeah. I was like, okay, here we go. The party's starting.
And was it like a red face, started sweating feeling? Was it a hot on the inside? What was that experience like for you?
Well, the experience for me, I think is wonderful. And we can get into that because I know that seems weird. But physically, what I would experience is just quickly sort of warm all over. And then this like delicious burning feeling from the gut that rises up into the chest and then fills my whole chest cavity and then sometimes comes up to the throat and then releases itself out.
With sound or just kind of an energy that comes out? Yeah.
Heat. A burning sensation, a mild burning sensation, flushness, sometimes sweaty, but really more for me, just flushing, getting pink but definitely oftentimes, motivated to take off a layer.
Feel that heat rise quickly.
Yeah, right.
So throughout your life, you've been able to pinpoint, oh, I've got an energy fluctuation, but it's because of this particular season in my life or this particular drive or focus. But more recently, it's not as much of a conscious effort into what created that wave, but there's like a subconscious change that you're experiencing. Does that sound true?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a pretty aware person. Being athletic has helped me be really aware and in touch with my body my whole life. So really noticing subtleties throughout my life and often usually being able to pinpoint it to something. So it was a little different when I couldn't quite, put a finger on it.
Yeah. So I've often heard hot flashes described much how you suggested it, that it's like a heat inside that kind of rises up, but you had a positive feel on it. Yeah. I often hear it as like this negative aspect. Yeah. Was that your awareness that it was going to be a good thing, or are you just experiencing something different than other women?
Well, to be honest, I told myself, I always heard all this negative talk about it. And so I told myself, it's not going to happen to me. I thought that I would start by just having fun and being like, yeah, no, I'm going to go ahead and bypass this whole process because I don't want to buy into it, being negative or affecting my life. I don't want it to disrupt my life is really what I was thinking. Yeah. But then it did happen, reality. But I just I got curious with it. Yeah. I said, what is this feeling? And one thing is I tend to run cold. I'm just usually that kind of person my whole life. So the first thing I noticed was, oh, this is warming me up. So it was like a bonus. Yeah. So I sort of thought, wow, this is warming me up. And it didn't feel painful. It didn't feel uncomfortable. So then I just kept going deeper and deeper and looking forward to having the hot flashes so I could explore them more. Yeah. And then I would get excited to meet them. And I found that I could be creative with it, Corey, and I could say things like, I know this is going to sound funny, but wow, what a gift, what a reminder to stop what I'm doing in the day or at night, whatever, and take a deep breath and come back to the present moment. I just used it as like one of those tools that we might do where we're trying to remind ourselves maybe to stay in a place of gratitude or whatever, and we'll set the timer, do this, do that. Well, I'm going to use this hot flash as an excuse to come back to the present moment and sit here with myself. And then I started playing around with it and saying, now when I have those moments, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to be grateful for my body.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost 50 years old, and this body has been through a lot. It's carried me up mountains all around. It's given me 2 babies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's worked really hard.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for it.
Mm.
So instead of having this viewpoint of, wow, I'm scared of aging and what's happening in this, I just got into a state of awe.
So beautiful. So we talk about the solar rhythm,
Okay.
the rising stress hormone in the mornings and the descending in the afternoon and evenings. And women will have estrogen and progesterone in relatively higher levels than men, which will help them kind of stay in that more peaceful, cooling state.
Okay.
Now, as they start to lose production of some of those hormones, the counter to that rise starts to dissipate. And as the counter to that rise starts to dissipate, you start to notice body temperature rising more easily. That was exactly what you experienced.
Okay. Got it.
Now, as people go throughout life, if they start to find themselves overheated, stressed, raised, elevated, the exact thing we talked about them to do is to calm themselves, to go back to that breath, to think less about the future, more about the moment. And that helps them find that appropriate rhythm. You were doing exactly that. You knew what was coming and you were ready for it.
Is that like the practice that you mentioned of when we get in the sauna with the, you know, the heat, extreme heat and cold? When we start to heat up, we're practicing on figuring out how to, you know, bring it back down or stay with it, and vice versa. Is it similar to that?
Yeah, exactly that. So faster breathing will elevate our body temperature and start to heat us up. And slower breathing will cool ourselves and bring us down a little bit. So when we talk about going into the sauna, there's this heat coming at us, and we want to try to meet that heat with our own coolness. So we focus on being slow as we get into the heat.
Yeah.
You were doing that exact same thing, meeting your own internal heat with that cooling effect.
Great.
You're nailing it. You're nailing it. It's super inspiring.
Instinct. Yeah. Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah.
And even with the night sweats, which I can tell you are a little less fun because it disrupts the sleep.
Yep.
And sometimes I've woken up and just been, it's soaking wet and you're like, ah, geez. But then there's an opportunity. Can I remain calm? Can I find a way just to scoot over gently, quietly, and then just get back into a rhythm? Can I soothe myself right now and put myself back to sleep without freaking out? That's a challenge.
Yeah. Honest confession, in the last couple of years on my own healing journey, I've gotten some night sweats. And it got pretty bad for kind of a 3 to 4 month period where it was a few nights a week. I just wake up and it was like a flash. It was like I could feel it right before it happened. And then poof, sweat would come out and kind of soak the bed. I'd have to go to the other side of the bed or get like a towel to lay down on.
Yeah.
That was an intense experience.
And in your processing after that, can you speak to what you think what was going on?
Yeah. I don't know what the subconscious trigger is per se, but there is a subconscious fight or flight response that comes up when I reach a certain level of relaxation and ease. So I get into this deeper relaxation and ease. I have a stress response that occurs, and it starts that sweat response. And it's often been, for me, as I'm going through a phase where there's a lot of body fat dropping off of my trunk, 3 or 4 pounds over a season, that's when the night sweats start to pick up a little bit more.
Interesting. Okay, well, maybe you can help me and the audience learn more about what's going on in menopause with those, similar shifts as far as metabolically or whatnot.
Yeah, so it's a stress hormone level compared to recovery hormone level. And so either a raise in stress hormone or a drop in recovery hormone creates a bigger gap. And that gap results in a stress response of some kind. And so in my case, it wasn't necessarily a drop in recovery hormone, but an elevation of stress hormone.
Yeah.
And in menopausal women, there's a drop in the recovery hormone. And so this gap is created.
Yeah. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Now, let me ask you this. You've got a positive mindset. I remember you talking about pregnancy and giving birth when I first met you about 10 years ago, and what a great experience it was, and how strong and healthy you felt for it and after it. That's not necessarily the thing that I hear from a lot of women. And so what is the experience of some of your peers as they're going through menopause as well? Are they having that same positive experience, or are they struggling a little bit more?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I was thinking about this talk, and what came up for me was the same thing when I was pregnant and talking to people about their pregnancy and specifically their childbirth experiences. I think I might have had one good story when I was younger. Everything was about, it was this for me and it was that for me. And they were relaying these tough experiences. And I just remember being like, nope, I'm going to put myself in a bubble. And I did all these meditations and guided imagery, and I had 2 amazing births. And I think it's a similar experience now. I find a lot of my peers, I have a couple girlfriends that are, 5 to 7 years older than me. They've gone through this, and I've been watching them and listening to them. And I listen to my culture, our culture talk about it. And it's like, oh, here we go. It has just this real negative spin.
Yeah.
And I've been very curious about that. I do not discount people's experience and challenges when they're going through this change. I think it's very real. But I wonder why they're having a different experience than I am, or that maybe you could. There are, of course, a handful of women that are like, I actually didn't have a lot of symptoms or this or that. So there's the symptoms, the experiences that we're having, and then it's our perspective, our attitude around it. And 2 different things, but one thing that came up for me, I think that we're sort of in the state of crisis. Maybe globally on people not being able to get enough recovery in their lives. And we are living in survival mode for too long. And that sustained stress response limits our ability to even have the capacity for a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that contributes to a greater, an experience that is not as quality.
Yeah.
And I'll add in there our culture as Americans and how we view women and aging. That doesn't help.
How so?
Well, it's my perspective and much the perspective of my cronies that we value youth and vitality. And so what happens to the woman as she gets into her middle age and she loses her ability to be vital and bear children? What happens to our value? Culturally, we're not really revered. Sort of put on the back burner.
I'm gonna highlight something you said there. You said we value youth and vitality. And one of the principles we go by is aging with vitality and longevity. And so vitality is a measure of life in the moment. And I push back on this idea that we don't respect our elders, because I think an aspect that is given eldership versus an old person is wisdom. And the wisdom that it takes to maintain your vitality as you grow older. And so there are some opportunities that as we get older, we can maintain our vitality.
Yeah.
And I think as a culture, we would naturally start to revere somebody who's been through things and maintain their vitality. And so it has nothing to do with our culture not respecting people who are older. I think it has to do with people being older and not respecting themselves in a way that maintains their vitality. And if they don't respect themselves, other people won't respect them either. But there's a few in our culture that I've met that have maintained that vitality over those years. And it's, you see them walk into a room, you're like, that person is taking care of things.
100%. And we need more of that. How can we model what we don't see? So until our modeling changes and we have people living in a more vital way, 50 plus, I think that's going to cause a big change.
Yeah.
I think it's going to cause a big change.
That's the shift. That's what we're doing here.
That's what we're doing here.
You're showing up to the gym. We've got people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, maintaining and increasing their vitality.
Yeah.
That's where the wisdom comes in. What did I have to do to show up multiple days a week for myself first thing in the day?
Yeah.
Why don't you share a little bit about what your process is like? You're very consistent with your activity and with your exercise. Do you have tough days? How do you get out of those tough days and still show up for yourself?
I do have tough days. I have plenty of tough days. I have missed days, you know, days where I don't make it. But overall, I do keep coming back, consistent over time. One thing is that I remind myself that I'm here for the long term and that my trajectory looks like a good stock. And so it goes up and maybe it goes down a little bit, maybe it plateaus, but over time, I'm in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really had to learn, Corey, is make myself accountable. And if that means externally by getting a good coach, having mentors, you know, putting out my goals and dreams, like, hey, I want to ride 50 miles for my 50th birthday. And you're like, let's plan it, you know? Oh gosh, now I have to be accountable. So learning to get help, to ask for help when I need it, but also learning to be very compassionate with myself and very empathetic. I think I can tend to beat myself up, or have in the past. And what I had to learn was I can move the needle better when I'm in a kind state. So if I have a missed day, I say, you missed the day. And instead of beating myself up, I can just get pragmatic about it and be like, you know, why'd you miss it? What's the deal? Cool. You're doing a good job. Let's go back at it tomorrow. Yeah. So that kindness mixed in with good accountability, I think is the mix. That's my mix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, does kindness for you involve accepting less, or does kindness for you involve something else?
Accepting less, like?
That can be a slippery slope. I missed a day. Oh, it's okay. Can turn into, I missed 3 days. Oh, it's okay. Can turn into, oh, I've missed 3 months. Oh, it's okay. How do you find that edge of still showing up and being kind?
Yeah. I think that's the fear. If I'm kind or compassionate, I'll become complacent. While that might happen, I have found that the criticism is what stops us from moving forward. So I don't know how to find that perfect balance. I think it's about being accepting where you are in that exact moment. It doesn't mean I can't change anything in the future moment, a minute, you know, hey, I missed the workout today, whatever, recognize it. I don't have to beat myself up. Now, what are we going to do to get there tomorrow? Yeah. What are we going to do to get there tomorrow?
So you've already missed it, but there's something you can do to still be prepared for the next day.
That's right. And if I'm in a state of compassion, I'm going to be more willing to explore that. Because
what
then I
is
might
that
say,
next step?
I might say, I need help.
Uh-huh.
I've been a little low lately. I need to phone a friend, literally. I need to get a pep talk. Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, I've been disorganized. My stuff's all over the house. You know what? I'm going to take an hour. I'm going to clean up and I'm going to put the gym stuff in the car. It could be a logistical thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So well put.
Yeah.
So somebody's up in the middle of the night. They have a hot flash. They find themselves stressed. Oh, I'm not going to make it to my workout tomorrow because I'm awake right now. How do they talk to themselves in that moment?
Well, I've been practicing a lot of this lately.
Yeah.
Because the negative talk is, that was the old me and the common me. So it's the quick, right? It's the program. Oh, you're not going to be able to get to sleep. You're going to be exhausted. You have too much to do. Like the chatter starts real quick. And the work is just to practice. Stop. I'm right here, right now. I'm safe. I'm supported. I'm comfortable. What do I need? Immediately. Do I need to turn the fan on? Do I need a different blanket? Do I need to change my clothes? And then remind ourselves that everything's okay right then and there in that one moment. Everything's okay now.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to be able to relax more and deal with tomorrow a little better. It's that self-talk. Everything's okay now. And I remember that when I've lost a little sleep, I still do okay.
Yeah.
The reminding of like, we got this.
Yeah.
Instead of spiraling into the dark side, the vortex, which could be the program. It's just, that is a practice. That is a practice. I was not born with that language. I was not born with a very kind love language for myself. And this cheesy talk, I've had to really learn it and kind of fake it till I made it.
Yeah.
And I recommend do it. Play with it.
If you're tired of feeling low on energy and settling for the scraps, it's time for your personal revolution. We are helping people go from the person that they have been to the person they were truly meant to be, and helping people get to the next level in their life, their business, and their relationships. Follow us.
So I'm thinking of the chakras when you said I'm safe and I'm supported and I'm comfortable. Like those are the bottom three chakras. Those are the bodily chakras before we start to get into what our thoughts are. So
and those are the chakras when they're off, we're in survival mode.
Exactly.
Right.
The tension, the disorder, the dysregulation.
Yeah.
That's what gets out.
That's what gets out.
How did you find those three phrases to check in with yourself? I'm safe, I'm supported, I'm comfortable.
I learned a lot of that work I did many years ago with Byron Katie, and she just talked about, she does a lot of good trauma work. She would go back to the moment in time with people in trauma. She would say, go back there and then find the very first moment that you got out of that second situation and find how you were safe and supported and comfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just started applying it whenever I could.
Yeah.
Because when I'm in bed freaking out about the next day, I'm not in the present moment.
Right.
Right? I'm in survival. I'm not going to be able to make it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's where the spiral starts. Then the tension, and then I don't sleep.
Yep.
So where am I right now? What can I do right now? It's the gift of all this so that we can continue our practice.
That's so good.
Being in the present moment.
So we had a brief previous episode where we talk about the difference between survival mode and thriving. And thriving being going back and healing everything that occurred while we were in survival mode. So survival mode is short term, get things done, but whatever can be put to the back burner is put to the back burner. And so tissue damage goes unrepaired. Body composition stores energy around the trunk just in case. Your whole process starts to get out of whack. And so when we're in survival mode, we just don't deal with those longer term things.
Yeah.
But when we go into thriving, we start to dig back and deal with that process. And so if there were moments in the past that we didn't feel safe and we're stuck in that place, we've got to remember, I'm safe now.
That's right.
If there were moments in the past where we weren't supported, we got to remember, we're supported now. If we didn't feel comfortable in the past, we got to remember, oh, we're comfortable now.
That's it.
And something as simple as, ooh, I sweat in my bed. I'm not comfortable there. I get a towel or I go to a different spot. Now I'm more comfortable. That can start to heal some of those past dysregulations.
Yeah, I love it. And you're right, because at any given moment, we're just a compilation of our past.
Yeah.
And if we want to have a change, so we're not stuck in our past selves, so we want to create a new person, if you will, that's it. That's a great awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any history with more longer term menopausal symptoms like bone density issues, any of that in your family or with some of your peers?
I know my mom has bone density issues. Yeah. Yeah. Osteoporosis that came up, and she's actually being faced with that right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
And what was her activity like? Is that where you got some of your more active approaches? Or?
No. I don't know where I got it. Just some drive to move my body as a squirmy kid and experiential learner, having to move around in order to learn. But neither of my parents were big movers. My mom is high energy. She's go, 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 but she's not necessarily been an athlete.
Got it.
So I, for many years, would tell her, make sure you jump, make sure you do weight bearing exercise, and make sure you're, building your bones. But wasn't really her jam.
Yeah.
Now, I've read and I've heard that that's important.
Yeah.
As part of the reason I train with you. I would love to be in the woods 24/7, riding the bike or backpacking, but I come to the gym because I know that strength training and the other adjunct exercise that we do are key to my longevity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got that history. Now your mom is active, but is she lifting 150 pounds like you're capable of?
No.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that 150 pounds creates little breaks in the bone. And then when you rest and recover, those breaks seal over and double up to prevent it. And over time, the sealing and the addition of more bone is what gives us more density. But if we don't get that, our body says, hey, we've got all this energy that we got to do things with. We can use some of the bone for that energy. We can save energy by not building bone and doing.
And then it starts to take away.
Exactly.
Okay.
And some of the worst bone density issues is lighter weight, older females that are constantly on the go and keeping up with their cardio, but not doing the intense weightlifting.
Interesting. Well, is there an age cutoff of... I know always earlier is better to start doing these things, but if someone already had the signs of bone density issues, challenges, and wanted to get the party started, could they? Does it make a difference starting later in life?
So I think what I'm hearing you say is it ever too late? Not ever too late.
Okay.
Definitely not. More difficult to start later in life.
Yeah.
Totally clear on that, but you can still start to reverse that process.
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah, still see the benefits of it.
Now, I often see in a lot of my older female clientele who've started to have some of those bone density issues that their relationship with their body is a little bit layered. So they've got a lot of mental stress and emotional strain on them that they still have to process. So it's not just go in and lift heavy all the time, because that will leave them feeling super sore and super demotivated. And so they might actually spend a lot of time doing flexibility work, because they're really sore, but they're gently doing that flexibility work and learning how to slow that breath in order to de-stress themselves from those layers in the past. And they will have like a day or two where they feel great. I'll see them for like weeks and weeks, and they're like, oh, I'm still sore. Oh, the old back is still bothering me. Oh, my hip is still bothering me. Oh, my knees. And we'll just stay with flexibility, stay with flexibility, stay with flexibility. And they will come in and they'll be like ready to rip the roof off the place. I feel great today. And so they've got this shot of energy. And those are the days that they go in and lift heavy. And then they come back after that. They're like, ooh, I think I overdid it. They always say that, I think I overdid it. And so they get tentative of those days, but they didn't overdo it. They used their energy, and now they get to go and take off another layer. A little bit more of that soreness starts to wash away. They do the flexibility work, which helps their body heal. Then they just feel a little stiff. And so now they start adding a little bit of stamina work. But then, because they've got kind of that history of a go, go, go mindset, they try to overdo the stamina work.
And that's what we're working on slowing down.
Exactly.
It's almost like the person that has too much stamina.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
I mean, if you will, or imbalanced with the other things.
Exactly.
Because it'll seem like too much stamina if they're not being coupled with the other legs.
Yeah.
Right?
So if we talk about the pyramid of fitness, and one direction is that stamina. One direction of the base is their flexibility. Well, if they're super enduring, but they don't have a lot of flexibility, they have trouble squatting down, they have trouble bending over, those sorts of things, they're stiff and they're not as strong as they could be. And so they've got a lot of stamina. That doesn't mean get rid of it. It means maintain it, but their body's going to be giving them the symptoms to build their pyramid elsewhere.
Yeah. Start feeding the other legs. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And fascinating to me to think about layers of stress, as you say, and that you see in your clients that create this type of personality maybe. Because, we are treating the whole person always, right? It's not just what we see on the outside. Oh, you just come to the gym and get strong. That'll solve everything.
Nope. Can't just lift heavy all the time.
We can't just lift heavy all the time.
We can't just do the easy flexibility work all the time.
That's right.
We can't just do the light weights, long duration, the 2 pounds over and over and over. We can't just do that forever.
Yeah. Right. Very interesting. I like the visualization of the peeling away of layers.
Always a little deeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is the gift of aging. I had someone tell me once, an old client of ours at the old gym, names aside for now, but she said, wait until you're 50, you'll become invisible. And that statement has sat with me for years.
Wow.
And I thought, no. At first it was like this, no, I don't want to be invisible. And here I am. This is the year that I turned 50. And what's interesting is I find that I don't have a need to be seen only by myself. Only by myself. And so if I view myself, my life, and aging in a positive way, then I'm not invisible.
Yeah.
But isn't that interesting?
My curiosity would be, if somebody is invisible, have they themselves done things that they're trying to hide?
Oh.
So not like I'm 50 and now nobody pays attention to me, but somewhere in there, I have spent 50 years not doing what I could or should have done.
Yes.
Now I need to hide.
Yeah. Or I've been keeping it hidden for all this time, and now I feel like it's too late to,
share.
Get it started, or, I'm on the other side of the hump. Just that viewpoint of like, we hit 50 and then we're going to start going this way is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
I just see it all going up.
Yeah. So
How do I know?
We've got that chart of wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom can keep going up. That's where aging can continue to grow, is the lessons that you feel as you start to drop and you cycle back and you start to drop and you cycle. That wisdom carries us much farther.
Yeah.
And to tie that back in, learning how to restrain the stamina work today in order to be able to show up the next day and the day after and the day after. So reducing the intensity in the short term in order to have intensity of sustaining in the long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been talking about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that wisdom that definitely gets easier as you age. So many gifts as you age,
Check out the official Unlock Potential store, where inspiration meets style. Explore our exclusive collection of gear inspired by the transformational messages straight from our Unlock Potential podcast. From trendy apparel that embraces the power of positivity to accessories that fuel your motivation. We've got something for every go-getter. Spread the messages of empowerment, energy, and motivation that you get from the Unlock Potential podcast by grabbing your gear today.
If you have a 35 to 40-year-old woman, what would be some advice that they could do today moving forward to prepare them for the start? What would you suggest?
Oh, wow. Get a fitness plan.
Yeah.
Get a fitness plan. It's never too late, but earlier is always better.
Yeah.
And in some aspect, I always tell people it matters less of what you do, just do something.
Yeah.
Because some people are like, I don't really like to move, and I'm like, there's 100 things to play with and practice and different activities. So start with something and then grow that into a practice of exercise.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. Get with a gym, get with a coach, get with a mentor, get a community so you can become involved in that way.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with more like-minded people.
Yep.
Even if you're not quite there, the trick is to surround yourself with some folks that maybe they're like the person that you want to become.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not 100% positive or whatever, you can surround yourself with those folks and allow them to help bring you up.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to really start embracing more community, more help. No person is an island, this isolation that we're in. And I think we've been really missing that and craving that connection with one another. What if you start talking with your friends when you're 35, 40, and you say, I'm looking forward to menopause.
I love that. Yeah.
I have this thought of like the steps as we go through change and viewpoints. It's like step one is I have an open mind to blank. Like, for example, I have an open mind that maybe aging or menopause is not that bad or scary. Two, I'm curious to explore what that would look like. And then three, I'm committed to the work and the practice of making sure that it's not going to be a negative experience for me.
I love that. So I see an opportunity when I think of culture-wide that menopause is an opportunity. Now, it's common language that there's toxicity of masculine energy in our society. Masculine energy is the drive without feeling. It's the doing without being. It's the we're going to get it done no matter the cost. And in some doses, that's super helpful. You want somebody to go in to a burning building and save somebody, you got to have drive without any sense of your own self-sacrifice. And with that self-sacrifice, that can be toxic. But the counterbalance to that is that we need a way to calm ourselves and bring it back into the moment. Instead of too much drive, we've got to have drive and recovery. And I see that there's an opportunity if women experience their extra stress response and meet it just like you do, bringing it to the moment and calming their breath, they create this sense of peace within them, and they create a sense of peace around them.
Yeah.
And when we have drive without peace, creates a lot of war. Yeah. And when we have peace with no drive, nothing gets done. The hut doesn't get built. The roads don't get paved. Food is not caught and gathered and brought to the table. And so how do we balance that? We allow ourselves, as we experience our stress, to create a sense of calm. And women, as they enter and go through and reach the other side of menopause, have the opportunity to be that balance in our culture. You feel that?
I love it.
I feel
Absolutely agree. Absolutely. That's part of the deliciousness about it.
Ooh.
You know, it's sort of, for me, in my mind, has become a spidey sense or a superhero, a new gift for my superhero, Katie,
Yes.
you know?
The gift of menopause.
The gift of menopause.
Oh, yes.
You
To be
know?
that counterbalance and
Yeah.
that cooling, soothing aspect to our culture.
Yeah. And also to myself, because I probably couldn't do that as well when I was younger.
Uh-huh.
Probably had a lot of that masculinity
Mhm.
really pushing me and going down that drive with a little less peace,
Yeah.
you know? And now just with the awareness and just time and being able to be like, oh, I can do it differently. I can respond differently.
Exactly.
And it feels better.
I love that.
Better experience. Yeah. Yeah.
Katie, it's been great having you on. I'm glad we were able to take our sauna talks out to the real world.
From the sauna to the video. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate it. It's been great.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for following along today. I hope this gives you a little bit of insight into the natural process that many of yourselves or some of your favorite females are going to go through over the next couple of decades. And it's not a limitation. Your symptoms are not meant to be ignored, and they're not meant to be suffered. They are meant to be a guide to create opportunity for you to be as healthy and fit as you can be, so you're maximally helpful to others. And as women go through menopause, the maximal help that they can have for others is to find a soothing peace within them and slow things down for the rest of us. Thanks for tuning in today. You can like and subscribe. Follow us on Patreon in order to get deeper dives into some of these episodes. See y'all next week.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Unlock Potential. For exclusive content, make sure to subscribe to our Patreon. Follow us across all socials at @TheBrianDelaney and visit our website at thebriandelaney.com to shop our gear and see what's coming up next.